This is a tutorial on creating a 3D rendering of a sphere, a cone, or what are the other shapes we've suggested. I'm going to start with a sphere, mainly because my setup is a little different than yours. I don't have a few of the straight edge tools that you guys have on the computers. My setup is a little more similar to what you have on the iPads, so if you are working on the iPads, start by working on the sphere. Try and do the sphere on the iPad, which is the 3D circle. And this is how you're going to do it. You'll start on layer 1, and you will create a circle. And you want to do kind of a mid-tone, and you can do it with the pencil tool. Double check your pencil tool that it's kind of light. Let's see if it lets me do a decent sphere. That works for me. Now, on the next layer, we're going to do... Oh, actually, let's stay on this layer real quick and use the paint tool. Paint bucket to fill this in. Cross our fingers that it works. It didn't. Why it didn't, I'm not entirely sure. But hopefully you can get a filled in sphere by doing that. I'm going to press this again and try to highlight it. No, it won't let me do that. See, like I said, it's not entirely as good as the one you have on the computers in the Mac Lab. The goal that I'm trying to achieve here is to fill this in. And let me think of the best way I can do it. I'm going to try and go around the sphere a couple more times. Maybe I just need to make it darker. And then I'll take the paint bucket. Maybe I'll make it a little lighter. Ha! There we go. Once you have that done, we are going to move on to the next layer. And on this layer, we're going to define kind of where the light's coming from. Except we don't want to do that with the paint bucket. We'll just write that in with this. Okay, so I'm going to say this is where my light source is going to come from, which means when the light hits the sphere, there's going to be a highlight here, and then the other side, since it's round, is going to be in shadow, and then it's going to cast the shadow down here. So this is the light source, and it kind of pulls over it and flows around it, becomes lighter, and then dark, and dark again. So, next step is to add some light to it. So again, we're on layer 2. I'm going to move my brush up, or my value up, and I'm going to change my brush, so I'm going to use the airbrush tool. Let me take a look at the airbrush tool. Since I'm using white, it's very thin, or light gray, it's very thin. You don't want to go too heavy on that, and you want to make it fairly small since it's kind of a small sphere. So where this hits, you're going to have a highlight. Okay, you can spread it out a little bit. Okay, and then the next is you're going to have some dark. So come back down, and you'll have some dark on the other side. This is where your shadow is. Okay, it's just a... Now if you make it bumpy, your sphere will look bumpy, but we can smooth that out a little bit later as we go. And we're just adding. Add a little bit at a time, that way you won't, because erasing is really tricky. Erasing can be tricky. Okay. Something like that. Oops, let's get out of there. And you can add a little more dark. Okay, well you get the idea. Kind of play it by your ear, play it by ear, but take a look at it with your eye. Make it till it looks about right. Then I'm going to add another layer. You guys won't have to use this little add tool like I do. And that's where I like to put my cast shadow. That way I won't actually mess up anything I have here. So I'm going to, oh, there's a bell. Figure out that it's probably going to be somewhere over here. So I just kind of follow that line. Now, the surface that this is on, the flat surface that this ball is resting on is flat. So it's not going to be a circle, it's going to be in the ellipse shape. Okay, and it's okay if the edges are soft. It's actually what we kind of want to see. And that's the basics for making a sphere.